Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, doing a second video tonight here in Osaka, Japan, in a hostel where I have to speak a little bit more quietly so I don't wake people up. It is about 4:30 in the morning, waiting to do an Afterlife University class at 6 a.m., deciding not to sleep, just to stay up, because sometimes that's the way I work. So, in this video, I want to talk about something I've touched on in other videos. I'm going to do it again just because it needs more reinforcing, and I think there's probably some new ways I can explain this, or I can point out some new types of information, and it concerns, once again, that muddy waters between lucid dreaming and astral projection or afterlife experiences. Because again, in the previous video, I was pointing out a guy who was presenting some really muddy waters, kind of confusing different concepts and basically creating misinformation that inevitably ends up spreading out to the masses and confusing lots of people. So in this video, I want to hopefully, again, help inoculate people against some of these confusing ideas and it's very easy to go off course here. It's very difficult even for me to get what I think are possibly correct answers, and even so, I can't guarantee that everything I say is completely accurate. I'm just doing the best I can to make sense of what's given to me. So by the way, before I continue, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't, punch that like button, hit that notification bell if you haven't done so already, as this keeps the fledgling channel going. Definitely need your support in those matters. So to continue, by the way, as the backdrop, this is just afterlifetopics.com. If you haven't checked the site out yet, then there's, I think, pretty good resources I have up there, including resources about astral projection and studies basically related to mind outside the brain. So these are all the PDF files of different scientific papers that you can check out. Anyway, so the story I want to tell, and I may have told this story in a maybe in a video a long time ago, but it deserves telling again. I know I mentioned this in my second book, or it might have been my first book, I can't recall. But this is the clearest way to understand the differences between dreaming and being in an astral environment. So the first main point to consider is my personal theory, and I may be wrong, is that every single time we dream, some small percentage of those dreams could be real experiences happening on the other side, and our brain is just doing its hardest to interpret that data and turn it into something that makes sense. So literally what your brain as a computer is doing is it's receiving information, it's receiving new memories that are coming in from outside of itself on the other side. And it's mixing this all up with basically using whatever its existing data is to make sense of it. So sometimes we might be dreaming that we're hanging out with Abraham Lincoln. The reason that we're dreaming that is because maybe there is a real experience happening with our higher self on the so-called astral dimension, and there happens to be a guy that we know on that side who kind of looks like Abraham Lincoln. Maybe he's tall, lanky, has a beard, likes wearing Stetson hats, and so our brain takes all that information. It's like, well, what's something we can work with Abe Lincoln? So it creates a construct, and so that we come back with the memory that we're bowling with Abe Lincoln, like, oh, that's such a funny dream, ha ha ha. In reality, there might have been a shred of truth behind it. This is my theory. I might be wrong, but if you have a better theory, let me know. So one time, I was like living in Europe, traveling, and went to sleep, and I had this dream, which is pretty typical of dreams. I was in like this subterranean place. It was like an underground building, but there was a bar, and there was a kitchen. I still remember this place, as clear as as clear as any normal memory in my mind. So there was a bar, a restaurant, and there was like cobblestone grounds, and I was there. My father was there, and this is before my father had passed away, and he was intoxicated. Now, I've had a lot of like kind of bad dreams, bad memories of growing up, and my father is intoxicated, and he's embarrassing me in like a public venue, because this would happen when I was much younger. So he would have meetings and dinner parties, and he'd get intoxicated and like say, "Cyrus, come on up and show everyone that one skill, that one thing you can do." Cyrus, I was just telling everybody about you, and like he's drunk, and I'm feeling embarrassed. Like I have all these kind of bad memories of my father, who he passed away recently, somewhat recently, likely related to basically drinking himself to death. So it's a real shame that those habits led to in an early death. He was otherwise perfectly healthy. So so there's a little bit of trauma there. But although this was before he passed away, although I was always freaked out that that would happen to him. So it was always on my mind, my father. So that's a perfect example of like a subconscious thing that my brain is doing, that's related to his subconscious thoughts, ideas, whatever. So it created this situation with like a restaurant and my father and all that kind of thing. And if I wake up from something like that, like I'm not thinking of this as like I just had an astral experience. I'm thinking this, I had a dream that was kind of semi-lucid, related to my personal anxieties. There's nothing there of any literal nature, just dreams. So here's the thing. So I woke up, got a drink of water, went back to bed, and upon going back to sleep, I felt myself have the energetic feeling like I left my body, and suddenly I woke up to find myself in a room, like laying in bed. And it was like a hotel, like a hostel or cheap hotel room, and the ground was cobblestone. It was kind of this underground cavey like place. And so I got up out of bed. I'm like, oh man, I was sleeping on the astral side. I just connected my consciousness. Now I'm really there. So I got up out of bed. I was in my underwear. I opened the door, walked out. I found myself at the bar and kitchen area. Now it was the same place from my dream, but now I was really there. So I went into the kitchen, played around with stuff, tried to gather information, tried to find somebody else there I could talk to and get info about where I was, what was my astral higher self doing, where was I traveling, what was I doing. I think I actually had some vague memories that came back to me, that I was in like an astral version of Louisiana, like maybe New Orleans, I don't know, but I'm always traveling about doing stuff. Who knows what my higher self is doing. Point is, so I checked the place out, then the experience ended, came back into my consciousness here, woke back up again, took notes in my journal. The point is, initially I had a dream that I was in this place, and the dream was just dream nonsense, my drunk father, a bunch of stuff that didn't make sense. Then I had an OBE, found myself in that same place, but now it was a real place. So that gives you an idea how it all works. So you may be having real multidimensional experiences, and then when the information comes back to your physical brain, it's trying to interpret all of it, rearrange the pieces, and you get this jumbled up thing, which is not completely accurate. You'd have to be able to be in the astral projection state to find out what's really going on, who you're really with, what those interpretations really mean. So that's something to chew on. So the next time you have dreams you just think are just dreams, then I encourage you to do like I call the jigsaw method. So like a jigsaw puzzle, just try to arrange the pieces that fit, so you have an idea of maybe something that was really happening astrally. May not always be the case. Maybe a dream is 100% just hallucinations. But I think most of the time, there's something really going on behind the scenes. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to tune in for the next videos, or head to afterlifetopics.com. Get involved in the community. Check out some of my books, like The Afterlife and Beyond, Understanding Life After Death. Just some ways you can get involved. And guess that's it. I'll catch you guys real soon.